We are here with our Survivor 42 rankings after episode 9, I believe. And we have a doozy to talk about. We had 2 eliminations. I mean, where do we begin? Do we begin with the eliminations?
Well, I'll just say I'm the first one who everyone on their team is gone. So go ahead, gloat, rub it in. I did the worst. We've seen this coming, let's be honest. But yep, I really miffed it this time.
Yeah, I mean, I only have one person left too, so it's not looking hot for me. Fan Guy's doing tremendous. Fan Guy has 3 people left.
I should be losing one next episode. So I'm not too optimistic on that one, but we'll see.
Huh.
I mean, Aspen, I feel like you have a lot to say. So where do you want to begin?
Is this on me? Oh, first of all, let's all take a moment of silence for Drea putting fucking some respect on our culture. The whole issue, I appreciate how she came about it, you know. And what's funny is I was gonna get on here and honestly, I was gonna get on here and fucking have a totally different outlook, but I hit Q up. I sent Q a message on Instagram, and I'm like, "So how do you feel about it?" And she gave me this long speech, you know, and honestly, she made very valid points to which I will talk about. But yeah, it was a big win for the Black community when it comes to Survivor. And what's crazy is I'm like, bro, we just did this last year, last season. We literally just did this when Big Brother was doing the whole camp out. Goddamn, we just was talking about this shit. So yeah.
Well, this was the trend 2 seasons in a row, even though they didn't watch each other, where the jury starts and it's the Black players going. So, I mean, I was glad that it was definitely called out. I mean, I talked about this last night with Q on the channel, but
I watched that. I did watch that.
It's what I've said a long time ago. Mary Ann was the person that said it the best to me. She really pointed it out how, you know, we come into these games, there's biases, there's a bigger social issue, obviously, so it's hard for Survivor to change that issues. But it is a part of the game, and yeah, I think Mary Ann said it the best.
I did. I was very surprised because, you know, you never know with Mary Ann's sporadic ass, but I think she did a really good job to be so young, to be able to articulate it the way she did and not get emotional, because my ass would have been out there being a wreck. Like, yo, voting all the Black people love it. I'm next, you know, like I would have.
I don't believe you on that one.
No, yeah, you're right. I probably wouldn't. But I mean, like, it is an emotional thing to be on national television, having to defend, basically, and we gonna get to this, but fucking Jonathan, yo, I'm starting to think Jonathan might be fucking racist.
Oh, this is a big change.
Like, dude, I don't know. I mean, the way he was getting defensive, and then like, if everybody fucking knows when you are called out on your racism, you shut the fuck up, you apologize. Don't come at them being like, you calling all of it, because nobody was calling you racist. But I think Q said the perfect line: a hit dog will holler. So I feel like Jonathan, he really showed his true colors, and it don't surprise me because he from where? Ala fucking Bama. I mean, I ain't trying to say nothing, but I am. And y'all know. Thank God knows.
I do know.
Well, it's funny you say that, because when you started this by saying we have to pay our respects, I thought you were going to say to Jonathan's game, because I feel like that is what we got with this episode.
Oh, absolutely. I want to trade him off my team so bad, yo. Like, is anybody willing to take
huge
this
change?
I don't have anyone.
I'll trade you Romeo. I'll trade you Romeo for Jonathan. That's what I'm willing to come off of.
Honestly, I think I ranked Romeo higher than Jonathan, to be honest, this week.
I did.
just based off of
I
that.
think Jonathan, like as a white person, you have to recognize that Black people live in a different society than white people do in a lot of ways. And so when someone's speaking on their experience and their feelings about something, you just listen. You just take a step back and process what they're saying, and you listen. And no one was calling him racist. Like, no one made that direct accusation or anything like that. If someone had made that direct accusation, then fine, dude, get defensive and say what you got to say. But if they're just speaking on their experience and their feelings as Black women in this game, bro, you just sit back and you listen. And if you're still casting the vote the way you're casting it, because strategically that's the move for you, then by all means you do that. And anyone with any sort of game sense is going to realize that it wasn't racial, that you were just targeting the person with the idol or whatever. Now, when you make Marianne the backup plan, that's a little sus to me. That's where shit starts getting sus to me, because like Tori's clearly the backup plan. There should be. Targeting Drea with that group of 5 to me is completely logical. I think it was fine. Get the idol out. You know, she's going to play it. But when you start making Marianne the backup plan, to me, that's when I'm not sure, Jonathan. Maybe you got a few little biases to you that, you know, need to come out. So, you know, I just didn't like the way he approached it. I think just the way he didn't listen and the way he immediately responded in a defensive manner, I don't agree with that. Plain and simple.
Well, since we're talking about him, he is our number 8. He is in last place this week.
All right, so this is where I'll chime in on specifically on the topic of Jonathan, because I put him here. I don't know. Obviously, someone else had to for him to be here, but after this episode, I don't think Jonathan is winning this game. Like, I cannot see the jury voting for Jonathan to win the game. Like, even the people who weren't at this tribal, they're going to hear about what happened. And after seeing how Jonathan handled this, I can't imagine he's going to be able to recover. Now, back to the plan of Drea and Marianne, okay? This is why not only is it a little sus, which I agree, but it is just a terrible game plan. Marianne is in your pocket. Marianne has an idol. Marianne has an extra vote. Drea and Tori are enemies. Neither of them trust each other. You don't need to convince Drea, who, by the way, has an idol, that your plan is to flush idols. That's stupid. You don't make the backup plan one of your closest allies who has an idol, who's loyal to you from what we've seen. That's a stupid plan. You don't, like, Tori's not with you. Tori's not in your big alliance. You're sitting, I mean, even at tribal, like without, when you're sitting there and you see Roxroy, who's in your alliance, why is it still just like, I mean, everything changed at tribal, obviously, but like, why was it ever the plan in the first place? It's a terrible plan, just from a strictly strategic standpoint, ignoring the fact that it's suspicious as hell that you're targeting those 2 people on that tribe. But it was dumb. One of the worst plans I've seen put to fruition this season. So I tanked him.
Yeah, and I'll piggyback right off of that. I feel like he played an awful game, even before tribal. Just how he acted about going about getting Drea out, and how he went to Lindsay. I'm starting to know her name now. How he went to fucking Lindsay and is like, no, we need to do this. This is what's going on. And Lindsay, I actually really respect how she handled it. She didn't get pissed off, which she very well should have, because he was basically insulting her like, no, you don't fucking know what's going on, even though your dumb ass is the one that don't know what's going on. It was hard to watch. It was hard to watch him just like be like, I'm about to make a big move. Oh, I'm making the biggest move of my whole life. This is the $1 million move. And then just be so like, it was sick. It was sickening to watch, actually.
Yeah, he's truly shit for brains, I feel like. I felt like tribal was him losing the game. That's what I got from this episode. That was the moment Jonathan lost the game, from calling Drea aggressive in that moment when she was not being aggressive, anything of the sort. And that's when he lost the game, because, you know, Janelle made a face, Roxroy's on the jury, Tori rolled her eyes at Jonathan at least twice during that tribal, I'm pretty sure. So it's not looking good for, even if Jonathan beasts out to the end, he's basically Xander.
Who called it preseason? I said Jonathan's best upside is Xander, which is like the like no vote finalist or minimal vote finalist. Like, but like, Drea is literally sitting there shivering in the rain and like calmly explaining that she's gonna play the idol, and he's like, "Whoa, calm down! Stop coming after us and being aggressive!" Like, bro, my God. Oh,
yeah, that
was painful.
part made my skin crawl because it's like, bro, the last thing, even as a black woman, I am not finna call another black woman aggressive and like it's just it looks bad. It does, bro, because like she's not being aggressive and you putting that stereotype onto her. She's very well spoken. Drea is very smart, very educated. She's not out there being ghetto and acting up like other girls who I know be. But I feel like she was, like Mike said, very calmly explaining her side, and Jonathan's like, "Stop being aggressive." Like, okay.
He like saw his brilliant master plan, which terrible plan, was crumbling in front of his very eyes. So he just decides, I don't know what he thinks he's gonna accomplish at that point, but he's got that alpha male mindset. He can't let go of his plan, his way. You know, that's why like Lindsay's like, here's why this is a terrible idea, which it was objectively a terrible idea. And he's just like, no, you're not listening. This is my move. So
I didn't knock him as far as apparently y'all did. He did, I've put him 4th or 5th just because I do think the Orange Tribe is still in a pretty good spot from a game perspective. So I do think if he can hold that group together, or they can hold together, I don't think he has a chance to win, but I definitely do see him advancing a little bit. And the fact that the plan didn't actually come to fruition because of the way that the tribal went down, where they were just like, here's our idols, this is the way it's going. Marianne is going to still be in a state of flux as to whether or not she was actually going to be that second target or not. She'll never know for sure. So she might still feel endeared to the rest of the Orange Tribe, like not being sure if they were going to do that or not. So I still think there is a chance on a game level to salvage, the Orange Tribe's solidarity, which could get Jonathan, further into the game for sure.
Any other comments on Jonathan?
He's just an idiot, man. Like you can say what you're trying to, like, just the way he articulated, it was just his art. It was just terrible. Like what he was trying, like it was just terrible. But I will go on the record from my perspective and say I don't believe that Chanel or Roxroy was necessarily a race thing, but I think if you go in there as a black person, you see these 2 black people on the jury, and you think about all the seasons of reality shows that have gone on where black players were targeted, even if these 2 particular jury members weren't targeted because of their race, they were targeted because of their atrocious social games. You can't help but speak your truth on that. And the fact that that dude just couldn't just sit back and listen without doing what he did, he deserves 8th. Even though I didn't rank him there, just his attitude deserves an 8th.
And while we're on that subject, I hate to bring up politics, but I'm going to, because conservatives are fucking losing their minds again about this episode, per usual. What else is new? And look, I'm a registered independent. I think extreme liberals could be fake, but also extreme conservatives are just dumb as fuck. Like they can't understand basic thinking skills. Like this is just critical thinking. I don't know how mainly this goes over their head. The point of this issue was that we have these seasons of history, and this is the reason that Drea and Marianne decided to do this. And I just don't understand how this always goes over the head. And this is the same crew that allegedly stopped watching last season because Jeff stopped saying "coming in, guys," but yet they're up in arms.
Okay.
I avoid racial issues simply because I've always been a mediator and kind of a peacemaker, and I try to empathize with every side. And I think that pisses off every side when you try to like, but no guys, but this is what, but no guys, but this is what, but no guys. And that's me. And so I get confused with a lot of this stuff just because I try to empathize with all the points of view. And, as a game player, you also, this is the only thing I'll say as devil's advocate side. As a person in a game, you don't want to feel like you can't vote somebody out because of their race or something like that. And you don't want to feel like you're going to be attacked for doing that if it was just what you were doing in the best interest of your game. And so I think it is a fine line that it exists in this domain. It is a fine line, and a very fragile fine line that just exists in everything, because society is so fucked that people are going to bring their biases into these games, and you can't fix the games without fixing people, and you can't fix people because people are fucking stupid. So it's a bad problem to have. It's just shitty state of affairs for the reality shows in general.
Yeah, I feel like this was a good thing to happen, though. Hopefully, maybe, because it is a fine line. I agree, but even like on Big Brother Canada this season, I'm like, I wish the Black players would have called it out more aggressively on that season, because they needed to, but they don't. So like, I just don't know when it needs to be called out, when it doesn't need to be called out. It's hard.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Roxroy was not a racial thing when it came to voting him off. It was because he was playing a bad game and he deserved to be voted off. Same thing with Chantrell or whatever.
I'm a little shaky on the Chanel vote, if I'm being honest, because we don't get to see Chanel's perspective, and the fact that the editing gave her perspective through Daniel is problematic enough. But so we don't really know why Chanel didn't connect with people. And there was some moments from Mike that were a bit extreme for me when Mike voted for her as well. So
yeah,
and you never know if she couldn't form the connections because people had their biases and then maybe that, you just don't know. You just don't know unless you have an X-ray vision to see into people's heads.
But the one thing I will say is, let's not forget, Drea did try to vote Roxroy off. And so, and that goes back to last season when, what's his name? Deshaun was crying because he had to vote off Shan, the pastor. I don't know these motherfuckers' names. But it's like you, and this is what Q said, and this is the part I agree with. Like, you can't come at it being like, oh, well, y'all voting off all the Black people, but your ass just tried to vote off Roxroy. And you also had a hand in voting off homegirl. Like, she voted for her 2 weeks ago. So, I mean, it's a weird line. It's a weird line all across the board. I think that it do need to be brought to people's attention because, I mean, we've talked about this for fucking ages. Literally, when we did the podcast on the older seasons, and it was Vesepia's season, because I think that's the last season that we watched and did.
Yeah.
But it was her and it was Sean, and they was the only two Black people the whole time, and they hurry up and voted Sean ass off because he was too fucking ghetto or whatever. Honestly, he was actually fucking funny. But and then she had to, it was just awkward how, I don't know, it's weird how people can be like, oh, I don't see that, I don't feel like that. Like, it's facts. It's not, this ain't even like opinions, it's actually things that have happened. Like, we can go back and trace
there's actual video evidence and statistics if you really want to go back to past seasons. But I will also say, that's what Marianne was trying to convey in her great statement, was that it's hard for the Black players to play their own game, and that's why Drea said she needs to change her game, because clearly if it's going to be Black players back to back to back, then she needed to change her game, or that's how she felt.
I mean, her game is kind of shot now too, let's be honest. Like, who do you think, I mean, if it was me, I mean, okay, Marianne and her gonna have to work together now because they the only two Black people and they done made this declaration, which I don't know how that's gonna work out, but we will see. But I mean, I don't know if people gonna be willing to fuck with Drea. I mean, the previews.
But she still has 3 powers, and she can still Mike's idol, so she could be around for a while.
Wait, she got 3 powers? I thought she had 2 now that she used her idol.
She had 4. Now she has 3.
She's stacked.
She's stacked.
Oh, okay.
I ranked her 1 just because of that. I could have ranked her 2, arguably, but
let's move on to number 7, which is Romeo. He just has to play from the bottom.
I hate to defend Jonathan. I don't see how y'all rank this guy ahead of Jonathan.
Well,
this
because
guy,
he's
this guy
several
is
eons
clearly-
smarter than Jonathan.
This guy is clearly on the outs, though. This guy is like more on the outs than anyone from what I'm seeing.
And yet he has a better grasp of the game than Jonathan. In my
He
opinion.
does. He
The
does.
thing is if I'm remembering, okay, I mean, Marianne is a borderline case because the Orange Tribe is pretty dang close. So let's just say Marianne isn't. That leaves only Romeo. And you know what one of the best times to make a flip is? When there's like one or two people on the outs. Because that's when you scoop them up and you make your own way to the finals. Whoever's thinks they're on the bottom of this big alliance, especially if, I mean, we weren't shown this, but let's pretend Roxroy was someone's closest ally. Your closest ally gets voted out in a tribal maybe you weren't a part of. Suddenly, you're like, I don't feel secure in my end game anymore. It's time to scoop up the stragglers and make my own way to the end game. So
Drea might have to grapple to him, to be honest.
And let's not forget, Dre and Romeo have at least the basis of an alliance relationship. It may have been a little, it may have gotten a little rocky there, but if they both feel on the outs enough, I mean, there's no better way for people to just come together on a game if you're feeling on the outs with someone.
My thing about Romeo, I do like that he has a good eye for the game. He understands what's going on. He knows his place in the game. He sees things that's going on. I think he has the smarts to maneuver. He just needs to find some numbers. He does need someone to want to make a flip and get out that 4 alliance from an original tribe that's now with 8 people left.
And he has high gun.
Now's the time to do it if you're going to do it.
High is straight gunning for this man, like gunning for him, which I think that's going to be the next war, if you will, is going to be between those two. One of them is going to go sooner than later.
I mean, I ranked him at 7, but I actually like the move of voting for High and then being like, was it me? Like, yes, it didn't really land, but I like it. You know,
It did its purpose.
It.
He said he was doing it to shake High up, and what did it do? It shook High the fuck up.
It sure did.
He did. I
Bad.
mean, I rank Romeo. I don't even know where I ranked him, but I just feel like, I mean, he not necessarily convinced them, but I mean, fucking Roxroy went before him, so I mean, he must be doing something right.
That was Omar's doing, I think. I think Omar had everything to do with Roxroy going instead of Romeo.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Omar is fucking Survivor God right now.
He's running shit.
He is.
Period.
Any other thoughts on Romeo? Then we move on to number 6, which is Lindsay. Lindsay had an edit for the first time ever all season long. It took to episode 9 for Lindsay to have some positive edit to show that she kind of has her head in the game a little bit.
Yeah, I actually am starting to like Lindsay. Who got Lindsay on their team?
Fan guy.
Fan guy? Wait, Fan guy? Who all left on your team?
I got Romeo, Lindsay, and Drea.
Oh, okay. Wow. Oh, wow. Okay.
I'm not stacked like your team, but you know, I could find a way to the end with one of them.
Yeah. I mean, I like I said, I really respect how Lindsay came into Tribal and was like, "Hey, look, I see what y'all going through. I respect it. I cannot relate. I cannot, like she just was very respectful. She handled it with grace, and then she fucking." It's sad, but God, she's playing a better game than Jonathan right now. I feel like she got a better chance, and I think she would be willing to cut his ass, to be honest. She kind of seemed like she would.
Yeah, I got a lot of respect for her, and I mean, we finally got to see her talking strategy with Jonathan, and the fact that she was just so shooting down the Marianne idea from him, which was a stupid idea from him, and should have been shut down. The fact that, at least we got to see that. So we know that she understands her place in the game. She's aware, and she's not afraid to go against Jonathan, which I think is good,
Do you guys really think she cut him, though? Like, not, I mean, maybe later, but not soon.
I don't think she'll cut him soon. I think the Orange Tribe is going to stick pretty strong unless something happens.
Mhm.
And they should.
Any other thoughts on Lindsay? Mike, any thoughts on Lindsay?
I mean, she's playing, in my opinion, a good game. I mean, she was only one of 2 people at a certain point that was eligible to receive votes, and no one even seemed to consider it, with the obvious exception of Tori. But I mean, it's Tori. But so I think she's playing a really good game. I just I ranked her 1 spot higher than this. I just don't think she can win with the edit they've given her. But I mean, Erica kind of proves everything wrong, perhaps. So maybe I'll be proven wrong.
Maybe she will be great in these last couple episodes, even though Erica wasn't great in the last couple of episodes. But they did show Erica trying to run some things. They haven't really done that with Lindsay yet. Like, she tried to run this tribal, but she really didn't.
No, I think even this episode, she didn't get that big of an edit. It was just more than what we were used to. So it
Exactly.
felt really big. But realistically, we only saw her a little bit.
Number 5 is High.
Wow. Now this, I disagree with.
This is my doing, probably.
Okay.
I ranked him 5th. He's cracking, man. He's cracking. Like he is on the verge of a full-blown meltdown out there.
I really feel like he's overplaying. He has been overplaying since the merge. And I just hate how he feels like he's running things when it's clearly Omar.
Yeah, but that's the good thing about Omar is he ain't like trying to let it be known. He doing too much. He want people to think he is running shit, and like just how he fucking freaked out about the Romeo thing. He was showing his colors. He was cracking that pressure.
He's emotional lately, and I said this last week, and it still is applying. His emotional game is turned up to 10. Like he's being very emotional at every turn, like over emotional.
Mike, you seem to disagree hardcore. Why?
An
why
emotional
should High be higher?
player is going to vote out Romeo here over Roxroy. High, sure, he might be showing cracks, but he's still one of the best playing one of the best games out there, in my opinion.
I agree with that. I think he's still playing a good game, but do you not think he's kind of overplaying and has the potential to fuck himself sooner?
I think he's the Ricard of the season, but we at the same time we're ranking Ricard pretty high. At a certain point in last time, I feel like he's going to become that like de facto. If he makes the end, he wins. And he is being targeted by a player. Like Romeo is coming for his neck constantly, and yet this is the worst we're seeing from him, where he makes a good strategic decision for his game to probably trim the person in this majority alliance that he is a strong part of, that he feels the worst with. He's taking the best advantage of this twist he's got.
I mean, the majority alliance is dead, though, right? Because they went against it completely in this episode on both.
I mean,
tribals.
yes, but I mean,
the majority alliance is now the original yellow tribe.
I mean, this is like it becomes the online survival alliance problem, right? Where it really just ceases to be an alliance and just is an amalgam of loosely connected people. But like, High, I don't think 5th is fair. I mean, I put him 2nd. That's where I actually put him. I was extremely impressed by him this episode. He pretty much helped co-run that tribal. It was shown he wasn't close to Roxroy. He got rid of Roxroy. He's doing well despite being targeted. I mean, he won the immunity mini, probably one of the better weeks to win it. I don't think he goes if he doesn't win immunity. The Mike thing is part of the reason I ranked him so much higher, and I put Mike like way down there if we're going a little bit off what we see in the preview. He is like does something that I wish so many more people did. If you go to someone you like and you trust and you say, dude, we're getting rid of this person. Like, don't blindside your allies for the sake of like a blindside. Like, Mike's not going to idle Roxroy because he's not. So just tell the god dang truth. And I think he made a really, really smart decision in going to Mike. Will Mike accept it? It doesn't look like he does, so I tanked Mike a little bit for that. But High did the right thing in going to Mike. So, I mean, it's just so dumb when people blindside their allies. So I gave High a lot of props for that. I think he's sitting better than you guys seem to think he is. So that's why I ranked
I mean,
him.
you make strong argument there, I feel like. And also, if the preview's like the usual fan guy, then High's not going home in the next episode because they made him seem like the target. So
No, and him and
that
Mike
trend
seem close.
continues.
Him and Mike seem pretty close. You know, the fact that he did that, I completely agree with Mike, with this Mike, that that's the best play. You don't want to blindside your ally, especially if it's voting out someone else that they're pretty close to. And in fact, he got Mike Captain Integrity to vote out Roxroy. That says a lot about High's persuasive skills. Though Mike was saying it wasn't the hardest vote for him, which goes back to our initial subject of maybe there's a little something there with Mike too, or something Nick alluded to. But you know, I think I agree with everything Mike said, and I think his connection to Mike in the game is a good connection to have moving forward for both of them.
Well, Mike is number 4, so we can transition right to Mike.
His
The
old ass
undrafted.
all over the place.
The undrafted.
It's the undrafted. Nobody has Mike, not even Boo Boo. I mean, I feel like he still has a good social game. I feel like this vote for him was sloppy, though, because he did make an alliance with Roxroy. Like, we gave Omar, last week we talked about Omar possibly playing a dot-like game and having too many connections with too many people. But so far, Omar's playing the good type dot game, even though dot did lose in the end in Survival 3. But I feel like Mike could start playing the sloppy dot game because Mike has all of these connections, and he already could have, crossed one in this episode.
Dodge just catches strays so much in every discussion we ever do. This man's never safe from just getting clowned on. I'm sorry, it cracks me up.
It's because he's Captain Charisma. He is. Everybody loves Dot. It's just the thing. And I don't think that Mike. I see the connections. I think Dot's way more charismatic than Mike, from what I can tell. But Mike is like, if there was one person that I thought was going to stick with the big alliance, it was Mike. That just seems like the kind of dude he is, where he's just going to give his word and stick to it. And he said he's in this big alliance, so he's rolling with it. So I think Mike, even though I will concur that it was mostly High's convincing or Omar's convincing combination that got Mike to flip on Roxroy. I think Mike flipping on Roxroy actually does bode well for his game because it shows his adaptability, which I personally thought wasn't there. And if he still seems to be going to have a good relationship with everyone. So,
but I mean, that's my point, though. If he has a good relationship with everyone, similarly like we said to Omar last week, could that not piss people off in the jury?
Only if they start talking about it, which it hasn't. No one's really been like, Mike's good with everybody. And if no one calls him on it, then it's a great attribute.
I feel like it's tough to tell because you can really like someone a ton socially as a person. You guys can get along like nothing else and not work together. You can have someone you greatly appreciate, you think is hilarious, you love having around, but your games don't align. And as long as Mike is clearly not promising everyone final 2 or something or final 3, I could see him just being the social butterfly who everyone likes, whether or not you're aligned with him. And that's a good game, in my opinion. It wins a lot of games.
It can, but it can have the opposite effect. Because I feel like what we've seen from Mike is Mike's making personal connections. And where Omar's making the game connections with everybody to stay safe. So I just don't know if Mike making all these personal connections could piss people off. Because, I mean, Fan Guy, you have some experience with this, so that's why I'm talking about it.
I feel like
you're on mute.
Oh, he's on mute. Yeah.
When you have too many friends and you have to start cutting them too early, and all of your friends start making up the jury, it does not bode well for you. You have just taken all these personal relationships that people appreciated, and maybe you did too, But now you've shown them that you prioritize the game over your relationships, which, hey, it's $1 million. I'm probably going to do that too. But you know, when push comes to shove, people get hurt when they feel close to you and you vote them out. It's inevitable. And the more you hurt somebody, the less they're going to be inclined to vote for you. That's just human nature. You have to be an extremely strong, emotional individual to overlook the fact that one of your closest friends just voted you out, and now I'm still going to vote for you to win. You have to be a good person and an extremely strong mental person to overlook that. I'm not, and we're not even playing for $1 million. You know, and if I feel close to you and you fuck me over, I'm not voting for you.
Period. Fuck that.
I kind of disagree. Every juror is different, and if you tell me, without knowing who the juror is, would you rather have someone you had a strong game connection with that's on the jury, and someone you had a strong personal connection with that's on the jury, without knowing the person, without knowing the context? I'm going to take the personal connection every time, because I still philosophically believe in games like this that people will vote for who they like the best and then justify it with gameplay. I just think that's what happens most of the time.
It's fair, but I can think of more examples on Big Brother than Survivor. But there's definitely been Big Brother juries who were like very scorned from their friends and friendship, Paul, voting them out of games. So I mean, you can't say it doesn't happen on juries ever, even if it's a different show. It's still a jury.
But I would argue also that there's a proper way to cut your friends in these games, and a lot of people don't take the right channels to do that.
Wait, what's the proper way?
You tell them you're going to do it. Like,
yeah.
Don't blindside them, especially if it's an inevitable thing. Like, if they're going, just tell them they're going. I'm sorry, I have to do this. This is just the way the games come down. At least then you can salvage some sort of something from it.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in that as well. That's why I liked a lot of what Hai did here. Is he told his ally that he was voting against what he wanted to do. Like, you don't need to lie to people when push comes to shove. You know, just say I don't have your back, or like, I'll think about it, but I'm leaning the other way. You know, however you feel like you need to let him down. Because let's be honest, your mind can change, but you can just say, I don't think right now that's the way I'm going. Like, I think most people prefer that, or at least they might think they prefer it less at the time. But if they're sitting on the jury, when time goes by, you have two people sitting at the end, one who's like, bro, I'm sorry, it's your time. And the other one's like, no, you're good, we're good. And then they vote you anyways. Like, time will heal one of those wounds much faster.
Like, I can only speak for myself in this sense, but like, even in like some of the games we've played, I always go back to I got to talk to everyone else first. Like, if I genuinely don't know how a vote's going to go and I think my ally could be in trouble, I'm going to tell them I got to see where everyone else is at, because I'm just not the kind of person to be the sole vote on one side. So even doing that, just don't 100% say you're rock solid with somebody. You have no way I'm voting for you, and then do it.
That's why I'm wondering if Mike actually told Roxroy, or Roxroy
he did.
Blindsided by it.
Oh yeah, he fucked up.
Yeah, social game. That's why I always say that social game is the most important part of the fucking game, because this is a social game at the end of the day. And so you could watch all these game bots on Rob Has a Podcast all day long, analyzing every little game move, but they never want to mention the social game. The social game is fucking super important. The most important aspect of the game.
1,000%. 1,000%.
Number 3 is Marianne.
This is exactly where I have her. I guess I'll start because this is exactly where I have her. So she is playing really well. I think she was very eloquent at tribal. The main thing I think that is going for her now is her allies and the fact she no longer has an idol. I think her getting rid of the idol is good, because I think the main reason to target Marianne Jonathan, apparently, is that you have an idol. Like, you're no longer just the, like, oh, they have an idol, time to slap some votes on them. Now, Marianne's social game and the way that she talked a few tribals ago, where she uses her emotion to sort of change and manipulate narratives, like, that is something you can do now. Show us what you got. You don't have the target on your back from the public idol. Public idols are just so rough, man. They're really, really bad. And I think unless you're a comp beast, I think your move is getting rid of it sooner rather than later before you get blindsided with it in your pocket. It's just so hard to play a public idol, and that is what idols are in Modern Survivor, at least these 2 seasons. So I think it leaving her hands is good for her. So I put her up.
Yeah, I put her up too. Because when I look at the board, there's only 2 people I can see at the Final Four right now. And well, she's one of them. It's her and Omar. Because Omar obviously running the show now, and that could obviously change. But with Mary Ann, she's nobody's target. She's never been the main target in the merge either. She's always maybe the backup target. So I could see her going home if, like, via a power or something. If, like, Drea uses the power and that somehow makes Mary Ann go home. But other than that, everybody else is targeting somebody else. And it's not Mary Ann.
Mary Ann was the hardest person for me to rank personally this week. I had her everywhere from 3rd to 7th. I think I settled on the back end of it because, and here's the one game, strictly from a game point, the one downside to the Drea Mary Ann saying stuff is we don't see how stuff actually would have played out had they not. And they didn't see how stuff actually would have played out had they not. So we lose, and they lose a lot of information because of that. Now, Drea, pretty safe bet that she needs to play her idol there. She has to know she's on the fire. Whether Mary Ann was actually going to be that backup target or Tori, honestly, none of us know. We don't know how those conversations unfolded and whether Mary Ann actually had to play her idol there or not. Because I personally believe there's a strong chance that Mary Ann did not have to play her idol there and that it was going to be Tori if it wasn't Drea. Because Lindsay's logic just made too much sense. And even Jonathan had to see that. Like, you just can't piss away one of your allies for no reason. So I knocked Mary Ann, honestly, because I don't think she had to play her idol on just a strictly game level. I get it in the as the gesture that it was and the spirit that it was done, but on a strictly game level, I don't think she had to, and I think she could still have it in her pocket. And you know, I know she annoys a lot of people, so she would annoy me. I'm with you, Aspen. Like, she would annoy me. So, you know, even when we call Jonathan sus, or I call Jonathan sus about Mary Ann being the backup plan, what if it's just because she annoyed the shit out of him? Unless you can get into his head, you know, you can't know for sure the reasoning. But, you know, with a player like Mary Ann, she could just be annoying enough to where she just annoyed Jonathan to that point. So, I mean, I don't think it's fair to just say with 100% certainty that Jonathan was targeting her.
I feel like it's too, other than shit for brains, Jonathan, I feel like it's too late in the game for somebody to be eliminated just because they're annoying. I feel like if she was that annoying, they would have taken her out by now.
That's also
I agree. Yeah.
That's also fair. But she's playing great. Like I said, she was the one for me that was the hardest to rank just because, and it's tough to get a feel for where she is because she seems like she's on the bottom of the orange group. And we don't really know how the other side's going to combat the orange group or if they're going to. So I think Mary Ann's has the widest range of outcomes from finishing first to getting eliminated next. And I don't think a lot of other players have that sort of.
I have a hard time saying her get eliminated.
I don't think she's going next either.
No, Drea will go before her 1,000%.
I feel like a lot of people. That's what I'm saying. I feel like a lot of other people have other targets.
Drea's got too much. Too much bling to go soon, unless she just is really careless.
But I mean, you still need allies with all the bling she has left. She doesn't have an idol anymore. The idol is your get out of jail.
She can still win.
Oh yeah, that's true. She basically has an idol
from who? Oh, Mike.
She has an idol and being held by Mike. That's right.
Oh, she's taking next episode. She's totally taking that shit next episode. It's happening. Yeah. Book it.
I hope it does. I kind of want it.
Can you imagine how pissed Mike's going to be in that scenario? Because he's mad when people don't vote the way he wants them to vote. Can you imagine someone taking your idol? Bro, he's going to have a meltdown.
Oh yeah.
Any other thoughts on Marianne? We move on to number 2, which is Drea. She's been the hardest one for me to rank this entire season. I've literally gone up, down, every other episode with her. So hopefully this is her wake-up call that she needs to change her game. That's what she said at Tribal, and that she can, use these 3 powers to her advantage because she needs to. Because up till this point, she's had a bad read on the game up till this Tribal when she finally had a good read.
I think you rank her her ranking for me is based on how you feel about her powers for the most part. Like I ranked her high because I felt like her powers were very valuable. Having 3 powers with 8 people left in the game is extremely valuable, arguably.
It should get you to final 5.
Yeah, and I do believe that this particular tribal is going to bond her and Marianne in a way that they weren't bonded before. And I still think she has Romeo. So realistically, they only need to pull in 1 more to have at least half. Who that's going to be could be a lot trickier because it's going to have to be like High or Mike, and I don't know. But I think if she uses her powers well, she could find herself at the end of this game.
Mike or Aspen?
I think 2 is just a tad higher than I ranked her, but I can see why she's at 2. My concerns just keep moving back to something that happened at this point 2 episodes ago, is that you had a good thing going with Romeo. Why did you just throw that away at the merge? I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of that, and that's my main concern, is that just is a red flag to me that we're not seeing everything, obviously. We're seeing an edited product, but it scares me for her ability to make and keep strong bonds with people, and at the end of the day you need those.
Aspen, do you have any final thoughts on Drea?
I don't know. I went back and forth about Drea too because I'm like, damn, girl, you did a good job. I'm proud of you, but also, I think I said this at the beginning of the episode. Like, I feel like Drea don't have a chance no more. I feel like she gonna have to be fighting, and maybe if she grovels back to Romeo now that Mike was just talking about that, I remember that they was kind of like that we basically referred to them as Shannon fucking Ricard of this season before the merge, and now she just dropped his ass, and so that's kind of like, what are you gonna do now besides have to work with Marianne because y'all made this pact together, and as y'all should, I guess. But
She honestly kind of needs Romeo. They need his other right now. They have to see that and do something.
I hope so.
And it's logical. Marianne's given her confessionals before about how she knows she's on the bottom. She knows she's on the bottom of the orange group at the very least. Romeo knows he's on the bottom. He's made that clear that he knows that. And now Drea has, with what she said in this tribal, she kind of knows that she's on the bottom of it as well. So those are 3 players. That's almost half the group that knows they're on the bottom of that big group. So they just need to find a crack in that other group and or cleverly use an idol, which I think
actually, now that you're talking about this, all Marianne has to do is use her extra vote when they have the numbers, right?
If Drea also uses hers. If they
That's what I mean. I mean, Drea has to use the double vote. Because 3.
That'll give them 4 against.
There's 8.
There's 8, so it'll be 4 against 5.
I can't do math. I'm like Jonathan.
The count.
They need to pull someone. I don't know who they're pulling.
All right. Any final thoughts on Drea? Number 1 remains Omer, who keeps getting his way, keeps calling the shots.
Yeah, you do.
I ranked him 2, but in hindsight, I wish I'd ranked him 1 because he's really just controlled the game, period. If he's at the end, he should win.
He should. Do you think he could stay under the radar even though he's running the game?
He has so far.
There's just
Yep.
there's less people is just less room to hide. He's eventually going to get targeted, and the question is whether Omar's playing a really good losing game or playing a winning game is going to come down to how he handles it when the heat eventually lands on him, because it will. What do you do to get out of it? That's what we're gonna have to see.
It just doesn't feel like anybody right now had said his name in a bad way. Not even once. We have not even heard one person say that he's controlling things or say that he's a big threat or anything like that. And I think part of that is due to the fact that he has this shield of Jonathan from the Orange Tribe just sitting in front of him. So I think Omar's going to be most vulnerable once Jonathan goes. And then I think it'll come to that point Mike was just talking about where the attention might get turned on to him and he's going to have to react appropriately.
Any final thoughts on Omar? I mean, it's the same thing as last week. He got what he wanted. He's running the show. He just has to, I guess, be careful and not piss off too many people and lose a vote in the jury. Do y'all have any predictions you'd like to make? Because it seems like it is that 4-person original Tribe Alliance versus the other 4. Like, that's what it seems like it should be. Now, of course, Jonathan's dumb, so who really knows? But should they not make a move to go after one of those 4 this week? Is this not the time to do it before it's totally outnumbered 4-3?
Lindsay's gonna catch the heat that's supposed to fall on Jonathan. That's just my prediction. I've been saying it this whole time. Like, Jonathan will supposedly be the target, and he'll either win immunity or Drea doesn't have an idol anymore, so he'll win immunity, and then they'll be like, well, we need to weaken him, so I guess we're gonna get rid of his best friend Lindsay. But Lindsay will be like, but I'm cool getting rid of him, and they'll say, okay, too bad, bye.
Probably.
Like,
I think the Orange Tribe's going to stick strong, and I think the game's going to come down to whether Romeo and High can get past their issues and work together. Because if they can band together with Drea and Mike, it's a 4-4 game. Each side has extra votes, so it could get really interesting with idols and idol switchers and stuff like that. But I think if High and Romeo can't get past their issues, I genuinely think it's just going to be an Orange team bulldoze.
I mean, it's kind of been looking like that for a while, if I'm being honest. That somehow those 4 were going to get super far together. I don't know about necessarily final 4, but certainly far.
I think one of them falls, by the way, via one of Drea's powers. I think one of the Orange Tribes is gonna go, but I think 3 of them are going to get very far.
I think you're right, Mike, because she has no idea.
Yeah.
All right. Any final thoughts overall? Intense episode. We covered it all well.
Yeah, it's been crazy.
All right. Well, that does it for this week. We will see you all back here next week.